Hello and welcome to my first vlog. I haven't ever done a vlog before. Typically I have at least some semblance of what I'm going to talk about put together before I record a video. Or I have a specific thing, like either I'm working on a car, doing a specific repair, or doing a specific review on a laptop or something. This is just me. I just wanted to throw something together, talk about a few things. You can see my workspace currently is full of computers, laptops. This is a MacBook that I picked up a while ago. I was going to do a video on, but I never got around to it. I don't really use it that much, so I'm going to go ahead and put a standard hard drive back into it and probably sell it just because I'm not using it. It's not fast enough to do what I was hoping to do with it, and while it's a really nice computer, I have much faster computers. I may build a Hackintosh down the road. I've considered it, but it'll definitely have newer specs. Because what I can do is I can actually sell this. MacBooks actually hold their value really, really well. This is a Core 2 Duo, and sell this and buy an actually newer computer with better specs, something with a Core i5 in it, maybe a first, second gen Core i5 that's much faster. Turn it into a Hackintosh. So I'll be able to do the same things as I was planning to do with this. It just won't be in as pretty a case, but it'll be faster. So I'm going to be working on that. These two over here are some Dell netbooks. These are pretty old. I picked them up for fairly inexpensively on eBay, so I thought I'd do something with them. But we'll see. As of right now, the spinning drive in them is just too slow, so that's why I was going to pull the hard drive, the SSD out of this, throw it into one of these for that purpose. What else? I'm monitoring my real-time stats over here on this laptop. On my desktop, I'm reinstalling Guild Wars 2. I've messed around with my clocks on my Ethereum miner, just tweaked a little bit, and just to see if that will give us anything better. I'm hoping to get, I've been hovering around 28.2, 28.3 gigahashes, or excuse me, megahash a second. I was hoping to bump that up to 29 megahash a second. But yeah, so one of the things that I do a lot is I drive a lot. I drive between 30 minutes to an hour to get to and from work. It takes me that long because I live about 30 miles away from work. I work for a fairly large company, I won't say who, and it's quite a ways away. And if there's no traffic, then it only takes me 30-ish minutes to get there. If there's a lot of traffic, like there's been, it can take me an hour to get there. And typically in the summer, there's almost no traffic because everybody's on vacation, nobody's in school, and so people have a little bit more flexibility with their schedule, so they go to work at different times than they normally would. And so traffic just isn't as bad in the summer here. However, when school starts, people start to get on a more specific schedule, and they get to be in a bigger hurry as they take the kids to and from school. And so that becomes a problem. Now I leave early enough that for the most part that doesn't affect me, but if I try to leave around the time people are trying to get their kids off to school and then get themselves to work, it'd be a mess. And I do live really close to an elementary school because I have kids that go to elementary school. It was a convenience factor for me to live close to the school, and I think this is actually still on, so I'm going to power it off. So yeah, I live close to the school, and so because of that, there's a lot of traffic. And the other thing is, in the area where I live, there's a lot of retirees. And so we get what are called snowbirds. And what those are is they're typically people who are retired and live up north. And we have a lot from places like even as north as Canada that come down and spend their winters here. Because in Arizona, the winters are very mild. It's end of October, not quite Halloween yet, but getting close. And it is supposed to be 91 degrees today, which is a bit on the warm side, but it's not awful. I have my windows open, so if you hear an airplane, I live close to an airport as well, so if you hear an airplane fly by, that's what that is. And so, you know, we have our windows and doors open, but pretty soon I'll be closing those. So turn on the air conditioning, because it'll be in the mid 80s, up to the low 90s today, and it'll be warm. And I won't want to run or be in the house without the air conditioning running. But when the snowbirds come down, the amount of just traffic on the roads goes up. And when you have more people on the road, whether they're at fault or not, I'm not going to place blame necessarily on the snowbirds, but what happens is there's just more people in general on the roads. And so when you have people who are being idiots and looking at their phone while they're driving, there's less room for error, and so they're more likely to get in an accident because there just isn't that margin of error for them to have the time to look back up and not crash. So every day this week there has been at least a 5 to 10 car pileup on my way into work, and again on my way home from work at a couple of the choke points. And that's been rough. My commute this week has been pretty rough. Today is Friday, and typically on Fridays I work from home. Today I am at home, but I'm not working because I get to work this weekend. Working in IT, and I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at what I'm doing more. Working in IT, that's one of the drawbacks, is a lot of people don't want you making changes to their stuff during the working hours, and so they make you do it when they're not at work, which tends to be the weekend. So, yeah, just one of those things that is the life of working in IT. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much, other than the fact that people don't respect it. It wouldn't bother me hardly at all, except for when you have coworkers who expect you to be on the clock. I shouldn't say coworkers, because usually other people in IT understand, but your customers don't quite always understand that you do need to not be working 24/7. You do your best to provide as good a service as you can, but working 24/7 is not providing the best of service. Let's see. So some of the stuff I have planned, my Mazda Speed, if anybody's interested in that. I have some repairs that I need to do for it. I've mentioned this before, but I bought it from a teenager, and they did everything you're not supposed to do to cars. They didn't drive it very well. They drove it very hard. They were very hard on it. They did repairs on it very poorly, and so that means that will require me to redo a lot of those repairs or to do the maintenance that need to have been done. So coming up, I have a new starter motor I'm going to put in it, because its starter motor's not always firing correctly. I need to change the gearbox oil. I'm going to do an oil change just again, because I've already done one, but I think it might need it again. The turbo, I think, it's leaking oil and it's burning oil a little bit. I think the seals on the turbo might be bad, so I might have to pull the turbo and rebuild it. We'll see. I also have a boost leak somewhere. That's annoying. What else do I got going on? So I'm trying to save money from everything I get, either from YouTube or from my affiliate links. By the way, if you use any of my affiliate links, AIC videos, .com/support. You'll find my affiliate links there. I really appreciate it because, again, it helps me make these videos. But half of everything I'm saving, I'm putting away, because I'd like to actually yank the engine and do a rebuild on it. When they did that engine, they didn't do anything to the internals for the turbocharging, and so it's at 6 or 7 psi. It's only got 170 horsepower because the internals are not very strong and won't hold up to much more boost pressure and much more horsepower. And so I'd like to do some stronger internals, and I like to get it up to, I don't think I want to get it much past 250. I've driven front wheel drive cars that have 300 horsepower, and they actually aren't very fun. They're a handful to drive. You eat through tires. You understeer everywhere you go. And the car's so light, it doesn't need a million horsepower. I think 250, 280 would be my target, just under 300, and that should be plenty in that car to get you going to speed you should not be going. I want to upgrade the radio in it a little bit. The radio in it is just the stock unit that the previous, I shouldn't say stock unit, it's a cheap aftermarket $15 Amazon special that was put in by the previous owner, and it's terrible. It doesn't sync to my Bluetooth very well. It doesn't pick up the radio very well. It doesn't have any kind of CD or other aux input of any kind. The display is hard to read. The Bluetooth I use for when I'm driving like audiobooks and stuff, and so that's important, but I also use it for the occasional phone call because I very much avoid using my phone in the car, but sometimes there is an emergency and you do need to make or receive a phone call, especially if you have kids, and so I do want it for that. Like if I'm stuck on the road because of an accident, I would like to be able to tell my wife not to worry, that I'm still alive. So in this I need to pop out. And so that's mainly what I use it for. Yeah. So I took that one apart. I'm trying to remember how to take this one apart. So there's no way for me to push through except for if I do, is it this? Yeah. So I don't think I could take this bottom off without taking some screws. Oh wait, maybe I can. Maybe I'll take the keyboard out. I take that back. Keyboard removal was not necessary. There we go. That's good. So anyways, so I want to do that to the Mazda. And speaking of listening to audiobooks, if you do not have an Audible subscription, I highly recommend you get one. It is worth the $16 a month that it costs to have that. I get a new book every month, and I have for years. I do take breaks from getting new books, typically because I have books that I haven't had a chance to listen to, and not having a new subscription makes me listen to the books I have. Because I'll get a book I really, really like and I'll listen to it a few times. But what I do is 1 month I'll get a nice fiction book, usually something that's sci-fi or fantasy, and or something that's entertaining and hilarious. I prefer things that are funny, and so I'll pick up something that has a lot of humor in it, and so that's the route I like to go. And then the other month I'll pick up something that's non-fiction. So something like I just recently listened to, and I'm almost finished with, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it has a funny title. That's mostly just an attention grabber. There is some swearing and some funny, crude stories in the book. That's mostly a device to catch readers and get eyes for the book. And it worked. I mean, I got the book. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And it has a lot of great advice on how to have a happy and successful life. And a big part of that is not giving a fuck. But not just not giving a fuck, not giving a fuck, or not caring, or putting your time, effort, energies into things that don't matter. There's so much that we focus on that just have no real value in life. And so it talks about how to decide what those things are and what they are not, and where to focus your time and attention. Because you have to care about things. Otherwise, you would not accomplish anything in life. But if you care about the wrong things, then you're miserable, unhappy, and your life sucks. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Another book I highly recommend, it's a book called Boundaries by Henry Cloud and Townsend. Apologize, I don't have this up in front of me. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Which, again, most of us struggle with things that make us unhappy, and sometimes that's people in our own lives that we interact with. And a lot of times that's because we don't have healthy boundaries with those people in our lives. And so by having a healthy boundary, it allows us to have a life that... Sorry, the screw's not going in straight. By having healthy boundaries with people, it allows our lives to be happier, because then we're not fighting to be for our happiness from other people. It's actually a conversation I had with my wife last night. My wife is a people pleaser, and she often gets caught into doing stuff for other people she never wanted to do, because she has a hard time telling people no. And so it is something that she struggled a lot with her family. I won't go into my wife's history. It's not fair to her to do that, but suffice it to say, she did not have a happy childhood. And one of the mechanisms that she used to cope with that was to not tell people no, but just to bend over backwards and get stuff done for people, which prevented bad things from happening to her. And that's not a good way to live your life. It's not a happy way to live your life. You would think that some of the things that people really go after and desire are good and would be good, like wanting to become a rich rock star, right? And you envision being a rock star, and you envision the happiness that comes along with being a rock star. But you don't look at all the things that it takes to get there, and if they're worth it to you. And that's where figuring out what things to care about comes into play, because you have to care about the right things to get the goal of becoming a rock star. You have to care about practicing and getting gigs and finding bandmates and making sure they're happy so that they stay part of the band, etc., etc. So, anyways, I highly recommend those two books, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and Boundaries, especially if you have any kind of boundary issues with family that you struggle with, because that's a big one for a lot of people, myself included. What else? So, another thing I recommend doing is keeping a journal. That is something that helps you keep a focus on the things going on around you in your life, the accomplishments that you have, because it's sometimes very, very easy to not see past the accomplishments you've made. It's something I struggle with in my life. And focus on the negative. It's so easy to do that. And so by keeping a journal, and while you want to keep your journal real to the things that are happening, focus it on your accomplishments, the good things that you've been able to do, the things that bring you real happiness and joy. For me, a lot of my journal consists of my wife and my children, because that's what brings me happiness in this life, for the most part. There's other things that bring me happiness. And sometimes my kids and my wife drive me absolutely insane. So, it's good to focus on those things in a journal, so you can always look back on it. And you always remember things better when you've done something like write them down. So, it's something I'm doing while I'm reading this book. Some of the changes I try to make in my life, I'm writing those down so that I can hopefully be a little bit happier. Anyways, I've redone that laptop. I've redone this one. I need to find the screws for that one. I don't know what I did with them. They're in a baggie somewhere in my closet. I turned you around and showed me the closet, but then I'd have to be embarrassed because it's a disaster right now because I was looking for those screws. But we'll go ahead and end here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down in the description below. I do appreciate you guys, my watchers. You guys are what make this channel happen. I've been doing this now for almost 4 years. I don't have a huge channel. I've done a lot of flip-flopping, and I've gone between a few different channels and whatnot, and topics and themes and things like that. But I think I've finally finding my voice and finding where I sit in this channel, and that's mostly just doing stuff I care about, and hopefully that finds an audience with you guys. So yeah, thank you again for watching. I hope you have an amazing day.